Order! Order! You are an incorrigible delinquent at times. Behave yourself, man!
Organisers say that more than 600,000 people have joined a demonstration in central London calling for a referendum on the final Brexit deal. They marched through the capital, where a rally has been held in Parliament Square. It's thought to be the largest Brexit demonstration to date, with a number of MPs from all the main political parties supporting the demonstration. Prime Minister Theresa May has already ruled out another referendum. Our political correspondent Chris Mason reports.
They came from every corner of the UK and beyond. It's a campaign that wants what it calls a people's vote. In other words, another referendum. There were some political faces you might just recognise here, but the vast majority were ordinary people, still deeply angry about Brexit.
It's all been lies from the start, and it needs a second vote. A second vote to get us out of this mess!
To what extent can today persuade people who voted a different way from you to vote a different way in future if there was another vote?
I'm not sure that today will. It's seeing the politicians making a complete mess of the negotiations that will persuade them. In the first vote, we thought the Brexiteers knew what they were doing. Now we know they couldn't organise a party in a party shop.
I feel really strongly that, people, particularly where I'm from in the north, didn't vote to lose jobs, didn't vote to close factories, and I think that, it's right to make it clear to people that that is the consequence of what they voted for. But I think more than anything, I'm, born in 1982, I feel more European than I do British in some ways, so at a personal level, I feel like my identity's being lost.
A noisy walk in the autumn sunshine ended, for those at the front at least, in Parliament Square, where politicians from a range of parties and some celebrities addressed the crowd. There's no doubting this is a big march, there's no doubting the passion of those taking part, but their demand for another referendum collides with the government's opposition to one. They hope, though, with politics as turbulent as it is at the moment, anything is possible.
Good morning, everybody. How are we doing?
The march in London wasn't the only Brexit-related event today, though. Here in Harrogate in North Yorkshire, a much smaller gathering, but one of a series from Leave campaigners.
And that's our message. Get on with it. Fulfil your promises to us. You said if we voted to leave, it would happen. It needs to.
And some UKIP supporters decided to take their pro-Brexit argument to the anti-Brexit march in London. They were not well received. It was a reminder, not that it's needed, that the divisions, anger and open hostilities provoked by the referendum have not gone away. Chris Mason, BBC News at Westminster.
Now, as Theresa May awaits a stormy reception in Westminster this week over the state of negotiations with the EU, organisers claim that 700,000 people marched in London today against Brexit, calling for another referendum, the people's vote. Although the crowd size hasn't been confirmed, this would make it the largest demonstration in over a decade and the biggest protest in British history not attended by Jeremy Corbyn. Here's Simeon Brown.
These are the hundreds of thousands descending on Parliament. The organisers believe this is the biggest protest since the march against the Iraq War in 2003. 15 years later, today's demand is over just as divisive a matter.
2, 4, 6, 8.
The crowd want the terms of the final deal agreed with the EU to be put before the country in a referendum. Yes, another one.
So you still have faith in referendums?
I have faith in democracy. That's why we're here. We're all campaigning for democracy.
If Brexit is Britain's most divisive political issue, that has split families by the colours of Leave and Remain, then where there has been a growing agreement between the two camps is over their dissatisfaction with the current deal being negotiated. It is on this ground that this protest is presenting itself as the united call for a final public vote. But there's something telling about which side is represented here.
On the referendum, did you vote to leave or remain?
Oh, to remain.
To remain.
Remain.
To remain, of course.
But Remain activists here believe anger by Leave voters is changing the momentum of Brexit.
As a hardcore Remainer, you can't speak on the behalf of Leave voters.
Well, that's precisely why we set up our Future Our Choice. Well, we spend most of our time touring the areas that voters leave and asking them. So I can actually speak on behalf of Leave voters, because I've been to Sunderland, I've been to Hull, I've been to Darlington where I was born, and I've asked them what they think of this deal. They have called it, and I quote, disgusting.
But in Harrogate, this Leave campaigners' far humbler political display warns against any attempt to undermine Brexit. Back in the south of England, the common mood here is not just for a final vote, but for Brexit to be scrapped entirely.
Many of the people here might be described as centrists, but in recent years this group politically has not had much success in referendums or in elections. So the question really is why they're so sure that stopping Brexit can be achieved by pegging that to a second vote.
Can I just say to you very gently, I have met many people today. These are not people with any political background or affiliation. There's an awful lot of people here who've never been on a march in the entirety of their lives. And they've come here out of a sense of despair at what is happening. Their voices are not being listened to or represented anywhere at the moment.
The organisers claim the final crowd to be 750,000, with many here hoping they can change the tide on Brexit.
CMA Brown reporting.
The truth is, we don't know for certain exactly how many people protested on the streets of London today. The police and other authorities were not giving estimates, but if it was somewhere north of 600,000, as the march's organisers believe, it was Britain's biggest demonstration since a Stop the War protest in 2003. Back then, Tony Blair's government continued its action in Iraq. So this time, will there be another referendum? Our political correspondent Romilly Weeks was among the crowds.
What do we want? A people's vote! When do we want it? Now!
Some had been brought by their parents, some had come under their own steam. All were banging the drum for a second vote on Brexit. Now that, as one banner put it, we know more. 100,000 people were expected. From the aerial shots, it was clear many, many more had come. The marchers stretching from Parliament Square all the way back to Hyde Park Corner. The organisers estimating that over 600,000 had turned out. Why does it matter so much to you?
I want my children to have the same opportunities as I had.
I'm Danish, my husband's English, so we are a European family, and these guys probably wouldn't exist if it hadn't been for the EU and free movement.
I wasn't actually old enough to vote the first time around, and I feel like a decision like this has a massive impact on my future, and I deserve the right to have a say in it.
NHS, food supplies, anything you care to mention, it's developing into utter chaos.
I don't really have any say in something that's really going to affect my future.
And do you think this will make a difference?
I hope so, but my faith is slightly diminished.
A common theme amongst these marchers that the first referendum had been missold. As the Prime Minister reaches endgame in Brussels, the noise from competing interests at home is almost deafening. These protesters want to make sure that it's not just those who want her to stick to the Brexit course who are heard the loudest.
We demand a people's vote! We demand a people's vote!
It's not just the size of the march that might concern the government. As a cross-party band of MPs gathered on stage, this campaign is now well-funded and well-organised and attracting some celebrity support.
I talk to businesses all day, every day, and I'm now not talking about forecasted fears. I'm talking about people who are already experiencing difficulties in their supply chains. They're not investing in the same way. They're not taking on more people. They're not creating more jobs. This is happening. This isn't what will happen post-Brexit.
What I would really like is for Theresa May to just get so fed up with it, she'll say it's easier to stay. That's what I really like.
That's not a possibility that Theresa May is entertaining. She's already ruled out a second referendum. But if the Brexit process stays deadlocked, there are those who believe it might become her only way out. Romilly Weeks, ITV News, Westminster.